Sports Intel with Ryan Walsh is brought to you by
Harry Freebed, Collectible Insurance Services, West Michigan Eye Care Associates, Eric Hall Aesthetic and General Dentistry, Calder Financial, Grand Management Group, Encore Business Group, and Rydan Investments.
Sports Intel with Ryan Walsh.
Stay informed and stay vigilant. Coming back here with Saivion Mixson of the Falcoholic. We're having a good conversation about the upcoming Falcons matchup here. Saivion, I'm going down the depth chart, and there's just a lot of strong units. We talked about the quarterback situation enough. That running back pairing, there's a lot that's made of the Lions running back pairing, which is a very good one. We get to see them every week. It's a strong pairing, but I've always been an Algier fan, and they bring in Robinson in the same draft that Gibbs came into the Lions, and that was when you didn't draft running backs that high. But I would say both teams are pretty happy with their picks from that year.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, especially with the way that both running back tandems, I mean, they'll both have to be, top 3 in the league? I mean, there's no question that both teams definitely got the best of what was thought to be a questionable situation when the teams first did it.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think this is a good running back pairing. And then the receiver group is looking pretty good. It's looking like Penix is developing a lot of chemistry with that group. I got to feel like he's going to get the best out of Pitts there as well, who's a guy that's clearly got a lot of talent, but hasn't had a ton of continuity, but now he is with Penix. But I'm curious, we got to cover the defense and everything too. We talked a little bit about the defensive line, and that's a nice rotating group. But I'm curious who you have your eye on in this upcoming game, both on the Falcons side and then we'll do the Lions side next.
So the first thing, definitely the receivers. With the guys that we have currently, we have locks on Drake, Darnell, Ray, and Fidel Hodge. Also, Jamal Agnew because of his kick returning ability. So there's only one spot left. So there's a 5-man race, including DJ Chark. I think you guys really know his name. Casey Washington, Chris Blair, Nick Nash. These guys are all towards the bottom of the roster for the Falcons, and they're all fighting for essentially one roster spot, and it can be one either catching passes or on special teams. Is going to be very cool to see where that is basically won. The running back 3 with Carlos Washington, Elijah Dotson, Deshaun Corbin. All 3 of those names are big names that we're trying to get as far as depth behind Algier and Robinson, which just an incredible tandem. Trying to find out what tackles are there, and one of the guys for you guys actually is going to be a good test to see whether we have good depth there for Jack. Look for names like Jack Nelson, Storm Norton, Brandon Parker, Joshua Gray. These kinds of guys that are trying to fight for those last roster spots.
Listeners of the show know that I'm big on names, so I'm automatically going for Storm Norton there. I don't know if he's the best player, but it's just a great name. It's a strong name.
Phenomenal.
There's a marketing campaign behind Storm Norton somewhere, so I'm excited for him to hopefully make the team. Yeah, you had 2 guys in that receiver group. Shark didn't necessarily work out super well here with the Lions. He had some injury issues. He has had some talent for sure. And then a guy that I always thought was a bit of a sleeper guy when he was here is Jamal Agnew. I think he's a valuable guy. He's not gonna be a guy that's gonna catch 50 passes for you, but he's going to be involved in almost every team, and so he's very useful on the special team side, which I'm sure is something that the Falcons covet like the Lions do as well.
Absolutely. Last year was a down year for the special teams, both kicking and coverage, so they're going to be really honing in on that, making sure that is shored up. Jamal Agnew was a huge part of that, especially in the return game. I think we saw sort of that explosiveness in Jacksonville that we kind of saw when he was at Detroit, but it was never fully formed. I think it kind of blossomed in Jacksonville, and that was enough for the Falcons to say, "Hey, we got to take a chance on him." For DJ Chark, he was brought in as depth behind Darnell Mooney, especially now that Mooney has that shoulder injury that he has. They say that it's not. That they say that it's just a coincidence that it happened, but I don't believe in too many coincidences in the NFL. But yeah, I think that both of those guys have valuable shots. I think Agnew's almost a lock because of his return ability, his explosiveness, and that ability, and that facet of the game. But as far as Chark, he doesn't have that far to go, but he does have a good amount of competition in front of him.
Well, with those depth guys, you know as well as I do that the special teams is what comes into play when you're a fourth or fifth guy in that depth chart on the receiver, because you might not see a ton of snaps there on the offensive side as long as everybody's healthy, but you're going to see a lot of special teams snaps, and you need to kind of pull double duty. So, yeah, I'll be interested to watch him. The things that stuck out to me on the defense when I looked at the depth chart, but I'm curious what you have your eye on there, because we talked about the offense, is we alluded to it a little bit earlier, but the fact that those defensive ends, man, they've got a rotational young defensive end group that I think is going to wreak some havoc. There's a lot of names that I could have seen the Lions being interested in at the time that I recognize. Pierce is looking good in camp. You got Walker that should come on. You got a couple guys from last year. That's looking like a good unit. And I was surprised to see the depth in the cornerback position to the degree where some of these guys are kind of charging on a little bit. And I was surprised to see Clark Phillips on the practice squad, because that was always a guy I liked coming out of the draft, but it sounds like he's worked his way down the depth chart a little bit.
A little bit, yeah. Clark Phillips hasn't been the outside nor nickel corner, mostly due to, just his size. He was undersized coming out of Oregon, and unfortunately that has led to him being a little bit of a liability as a tackler. Still has his explosive moments. I mean, he had a phenomenal pick against Carolina to kind of steal that game last season. But outside of those few flashes, he hasn't necessarily been he was drafted in the fourth round, so you're not expecting like a superstar, but you are expecting a bit more consistency, and he just wasn't that. But yeah, no, when it comes to the defensive line, it has been a drastic change from last season. One thing that is an issue is that there's a lot of weird bodies, and it's kind of going to be an adventure to see how defensive coordinator Jeff Ulbrich kind of puts them together, kind of sees how he uses these multiple fronts, kind of get the best seven on the field at a time. But yeah, apparently, according to Raheem Morris, all these guys are going to play. So we get to see James Pierce Jr., get to see Jalen Walker, Arnold Ebiketie, D'Angelo Malone, Braylon Trice, all these guys that are sort of, and there's a big name at the back of the roster named Khalid Kareem that you should really keep your eyes on as the game goes on. But yeah, all of a sudden, a pass rush that wasn't very viable for the last decade plus is starting to look a little exciting.
And that'll make the job a lot easier for the back end of that defense, for the cornerbacks and the safeties. Those safeties are good there in Atlanta. So I'm curious who you have your eyes on the Lions side of things coming into the game. If there's anybody, obviously there's not going to be a lot of starters on either side. We already talked about that, but of the depth players, are there anybody on the Lions that you're looking at saying that, yeah, I kind of want to see this guy live?
I have to see Isaac Tesla. I've got to see the explosiveness. I saw a little bit of it against the Chargers, but unfortunately, the quarterback, even Dan Campbell said, kind of had a rough day. But I think I'm looking for them to bounce back. Speaking of quarterbacks, loved Hendon Hooker out of Tennessee. Cannot wait to see him. I really hope. I think Campbell said he was going to start. Really can't wait to see him and see if he can kind of bounce back. Dominic Lovett, loved him out of Georgia. Craig Reynolds, I think he's going to be he's going to give a lot of problems to our linebackers. See how they maneuver from that. And big name on the defensive end. I don't want to say it wrong. Is it Ahmed Hassan?
I think it's Hassanin. Well, I'm going to have to get the pronunciation. Big G's giving me the thumbs up on that because we had this same issue with Levi Owunzurike last year because I all of us were getting his name wrong for about half a season, and then a beat writer asked him how to say his name, and we were missing that W sound at the beginning. So want to try to get this right. But yeah, after seeing interviews with this guy and stuff, I don't think he cares. He just wants to go out there and play football. So he's not worried about the name pronunciation. He's just going out there, and he's got a good level of intensity for that position here. And I think I do think he's a sleeper. I think he slipped a little bit with all the depth like Pierce and some of the other guys at the defensive end position. I think they got kind of a steal there. So I'm with you on that one.
Oh, for sure, yes. He definitely fell a little bit. Still not entirely sure why, but another couple of names that I like was Rocky Sin. I really wanted to see him, especially after how he played against the Chargers. I want to see if there's any receivers that can kind of step up to the challenge for the Falcons. And a couple of names I wanted to really see was Ennis Rakestraw, but I heard he got hurt. That one kind of hurt my heart. And Mekhi Wingo, I really wanted to see him, and I think both of those guys are not available.
It seems like the injury bug hasn't really left town here. We were hoping that would leave town in the offseason, but we've had a decent amount of injuries here. But that's the case with football everywhere. It's not unique to the Lions, but it is hitting early, hopefully earlier rather than later, so that some of these guys can come back because Wingo and Rakestraw should hopefully factor in. But I am disappointed, especially for Rakestraw, because he really hasn't had a healthy. Now that he's going on his second year, and he really hasn't had a lot of healthy time to even work off the field on his different skill set and where he fits in the team. So yeah, that's one that hopefully just for his sake he can get healthy and get some reps because he's got some good skills here. But we appreciate you coming on and having the conversation with us here. We're going to talk to one of your buddies from the Falcoholic next week, so we won't see you next week, but we'll still talk to a Falcoholic member. But tell people where they can follow you and the rest of the folks at the Falcoholic here.
Absolutely. Please go to thefalcoholic.com. You can find me literally my name at Saivion Mixson on Twitter, and everybody on the Falcoholic is underneath the Falcoholic on Twitter.
Perfect. Well, we appreciate it. We'll be following you guys, and we'll be looking forward to the game this weekend here. We appreciate you coming on the show, Saivion.
Man, I appreciate you guys giving me the time. I really appreciate it.
Definitely. Yeah. Hopefully we'll talk to you again, but we'll be watching the game here this weekend, and take care.
Sports Intel with Ryan Walsh.